I'm Mike Saville and welcome back to our GDPR compliance journey. This time we're talking about breach management, and this is something that has some quite clearly defined elements within the GDPR. So you need to be doing the right things. Now, the first thing you need to do in terms of breach is trying to protect yourself from it ever happening in the first place. If you go back a few videos and you look at the video we did on technical measures, you'll see that we talk about cyber essentials and getting in that baseline of information security that will protect you, hopefully, from ever having a breach. Doing a few simple things will go a long way to making yourself a more difficult target than thousands and thousands of other people out there who've not done the basics and are much easier to attack. Once you've implemented your basic security, well, you need to monitor what's going on. You need to understand if there's been a breach or if there's been any suspicious activity. And that's about implementing systems. Many of your providers will have dashboards that you can log on to. If you use Microsoft or Google or any of those sorts of services, AWS, they all have dashboards that you can log into to check the status and the health of your system to see if there's been any activity you wouldn't expect. So as well as keeping an eye on your own systems, use those dashboards, use those tools that are available to help you understand what is going on with your systems. And then we come to what happens if you have a breach. Well, there are 4 steps as we see it. Firstly, you need to identify if there has been a breach, and some of the dashboarding and tools that are out there might help you do that. If you have identified that there's been a breach, you need to do some investigation to find out the nature of that and what data might have been exposed. And once you've investigated, you need to contain the breach to make sure it doesn't get any worse. And then finally, you need to notify some people, either your customers or the supervisory authority. So let's have a look. We've got a breach process document which describes these steps, and we'll have a look at how we've documented exactly what needs to be done in these situations. And so here is the guideline personal data breach process document. And like all our documentation and processes and policies, we try to keep it very simple and include only the required information. So if we go through the breach document, you can see that it's an irregular process, i.e. we only invoke this when we need to. It's live and we've got the responsible role and the owner. We tell people what the purpose of this process is: to ensure consistent response and to make sure the mandatory elements are met. Now, this process is broken down not just into steps but also categories. So making sure we identify, we investigate, we contain and we notify. So a couple of steps for identifying, for checking, for creating a ticket, important in our process because it sets the 72-hour timer going, and that's one of the mandatory requirements. We then move on to investigation, and we've got some standard information that we like to be collected and recorded against any help desk ticket in terms of the data that's effective, the individuals affected, which system or location, which measures we had in place and what the risk is. And those are important as part of the investigation because when we come to notify, those are pieces of information that are needed on the breach notification form. So once we've investigated, we then contain. The process document here can't cover every step of containment because it would very much depend on, is it a physical security breach, is it within the email system or CRM, is it a website breach, and the steps to contain each of those will be a little different. So we really have got a catch-all here to say you need to work with providers and then document against the help desk ticket the steps we need in future, and then to assign a task to make sure we complete those steps. And then we come on to the notification part. So within 72 hours, if it's a high risk, then we need to complete our data breach notification form and send it to the Information Commissioner's office. If the breach is high risk, it remains unmitigated, and if the data is not encrypted, then we need to tell the affected individuals as well. And when we've done all that, we can close the ticket. And like all our processes, we finish by describing which policies are related to this process. So there we have it. That's our breach process. And really, I think the key thing around breach is to be really clear in your communications. Make sure everybody in your organisation understands the process, understands where to find the document, understands how and when to communicate, and just really put that communications piece at the heart of anything you do around breach and do it properly. So that's it on breach. Hope you found that useful. Next time, we're going to talk about reviews, reviewing your measures, reviewing the measures of your third parties. So until then, we hope you find your compliance simple.